Yeah. You know, mom used to say to me that it's hard to spot intelligence, but you can spot stupid a mile away. So maybe intelligence is like an absence of stupid, right? So I think a lot of what I would say are the red flags that a relationship is not likely to continue successfully are an absence of things rather than a presence,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
So like one of the things that's present in almost all the happy couples I know is this sense of like cheering for each other. You know, this sense of like, you're interested, you're interesting, and I'm cheering for you. When you have that, it's a superpower of sorts. In the absence of it or the opposite of it, we've all been to the dinner party. We're like, whatever he says, she's rolling her eyes at. And whatever she says, he's like not even really listening. And he's kind of like, wait, what? Like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, and it's just a vibe. It's a feeling. It's
And
that
they think
sense
it looks
of like,
cool.
yeah, well, you know, the zeitgeist has told people it's cool.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what that's about, but like, you know, this is something that as a man and a woman, we probably experience a little differently. But like you go out with a group of men. If a guy is like, dude, my wife's like the coolest, man. Like it's sort of like, well, what is with this guy? Whereas if the guy is like, my wife's like the most loathsome harpy ever to castrate a man, you know, they're like, yeah, I know, man. That's how they are. And women, it's the same thing. Like if you know, say like, oh, my husband's just so great, you know, it's kind of, maybe it's a little more acceptable. But if you do the like, you know, man, they're just so stupid. It's like, amen, sister, you know, and that's, we've really been taught to this, like have this battle, you know, and see it that way. And look, for whatever reason, you know, the battle of the sexes and the sort of girls versus boys thing, I get there's a bonding element to that or whatever. But like if you're saying for 8 billion people in the world, and you're the one, like I want you to hold my hand and let's figure this thing out. Let's walk together. Let's see each other's blind spots. Let's like try to just cheer for each other, help each other. Like to me, the goal of marriage should be that at the end of your life, you could say, this person helped me be the most authentic version of myself. Mm. And I helped them do the same thing. Mm. Like, what could be more worthy of a pursuit than that? Like, what could be a greater asset to have than that? For most people, I don't know that that's the goal. There's this sense of like, you know, yeah, like this is my person. Like I picked them. I don't know if I'd pick them again if I had it to do over again. Like, and that's when you feel that around people, that rolling of the eyes, but one of the things I think is really fun to do is when you're out, you know, with a group of couples or whatever, and someone's got that vibe of like, oh, you can tell they had a fight in the car on the way there, or they have that sort of like rolling their eyes at each other. If you go, so how'd you guys meet? Tell me about how you met. There's a softening that happens that is fascinating to me because people kind of go back in their head to like when they were trying to close the deal, you know? And when it still was something they were aspiring to, was to be this person's person. And they go back there in their mind for a minute, and there's something that shifts. So for me, long answer to that question is, and I feel like people have lost that plot completely. They've stopped trying to close, you know? They've lost sight of the fact that like, this is their person. And, you know, constructive criticism is important in any relationship. It's still criticism. And it never feels good to be criticized. Mm-hmm. And you know, obviously, as someone who has a lot of management experience, that, you know, there are ways to modify the behaviors of people around you that don't require direct criticism, even constructive criticism. Mm-hmm. Like praising the behavior that you're trying to facilitate is the way to do it. And in marriage, that's incredibly easy. It's incredibly easy because you have all these levers. You have affection, sex, romance. You know, you have all of these things that you can weaponize in a good way to modify the behavior of this person and help improve the dynamic without them feeling criticized. So to me, when I see criticism, that to me is the biggest red flag.
That's so good. My husband actually was the one who taught me. He taught me that wasn't cool to even make jokes about your partner in front of other people. Yeah. And he was like, it's just a disrespectful thing. We don't do that in front of other people. Yeah. And I had really, you know, my parents have been married forever. They're very happily married still. Yeah. They're incredible partners. But that was okay in their marriage. You know, they could have a little But when I saw it, I thought, yeah, actually, it is kind of disrespectful. And, you know, Chris and I, it's us against the world. And don't get me wrong, we fight. But I love how you say healthy couples fight. They just fight fairly.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
it's no low blows. It's no like weaponization of intimacy to me is the scariest thing in the world because it's so brave to love someone. Like it's so brave, like to go, I'm going to show you all of these soft spots. Like, you know, you marry a Navy SEAL, he's got soft spots. I guarantee it, you know, and maybe he doesn't show them to anybody, you know, but he's got to be able to show them to you. And if when someone makes you the keeper of that, if you ever use that to like weaponize, like anyone who's ever been in a relationship for more than a month, you have a sentence, like you keep it in the chamber, hopefully forever. You have a sentence you know you could say to your partner that would literally reduce them to tears. Like we all do. Like you have it with your friends. You have it, anyone you know really well. You're like, I know what would crush them. And as a divorce lawyer, like I see what happens when people unleash that kraken, you know, and you can't take it back. You can't take it back. And those little indignities, those little jabs, those little, like people's relationships fall apart the way people go bankrupt. Very slowly and then all at once. Yeah. And how companies fail. Very slowly and then all at once. And relationships the same thing. It's like very slowly and then you just go right off the cliff.
Oof. You know, I loved how you talked about why people shouldn't talk badly about their spouses. And you also had this story about a dog that my husband and I were watching last night. Yeah. And we were sort of laughing about it and saying like, I think one of the interesting things about you and why I wanted you to come talk to our people is I've been through a divorce and it was terrible. Yeah. And it wasn't his fault entirely. And it wasn't my fault entirely. We were two super flawed people that just couldn't figure it out. And if I don't have very many regrets in life, but that one's damn near close. Just like getting there, having that presupposition that we have to get married and I just should marry a person because there are these boxes that it fit into. And I take that on my shoulders. Like, I think that was my fault for even saying yes fully, you know, and I was the one that wanted to leave. And so I'm always like, man, if I could go to young Codie and say a few things differently, it would be a lot of the stuff that you talk about. And it's weird that I would talk to young Codie about a divorce attorney. You know, that's not like my immediate thought. It's like maybe a fucking counselor, a priest. I don't know. Yeah. But you have this story about how a dog has a lot in common with how a good relationship is today and how we're kind of fucked up in the way we think about relationships. Will you share it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a dog person, so I've always had dogs. And I think they teach us a lot about love because if I've learned anything from my dogs, it's how absolutely insane it is to love anything. And I think part of it really is acknowledgement because they have this incredibly short lifespan. We know that a dog is not gifted to us permanently. It's loaned. Like we're going to have it for this little period of time. I think there's something about when someone says it's going to be you and me forever, that there's a very human part to go, whew, great. All right, got that done now. I can focus on some other things, you know, because there's no shortage of things to focus on. Really, like love is loaned. Like your husband's love is loaned to you and your love is loaned to him. It's not permanently gifted. And your marriage will end. Every marriage ends. It ends in death or divorce. It's weird because it's one of those things you go, I really hope yours ends in death. Like what a weird thing to say out loud. But the truth is like your marriage will end. And you want it to end in death. You want it to end way down the road in death. More likely than not, marriages end in divorce. But there is something about the love we have for a dog, the love we have for our pets, that I think knows that this is not going to be here forever and that we should be really enjoying it and really focusing on it and really being selfless in our love of it. And also, too, there's something about the way dogs just are always cheering for us, you know? Like there's an old joke, like if you want to know who loves you more, lock your spouse and your dog in the trunk of the car, open it up a half hour later and see which one's happy to see you.
My father-in-law told me that joke before we got married.
Yeah, so, it's a fair joke, you know. But I really do think that we learn a lot about ourselves and about love and about loss by having pets. I think that for me, I've learned a lot about love from having a dog and also from my heart's infinite capacity for love. Because every time I go, yeah, I'm never doing that again. I could never love any dog the way I love Buster. I could never love any dog the way I love Huckleberry. There's no way I could love. And then somehow I do. Like, and it doesn't take anything away from how much I loved them to have this new additional love in my life. But it reminds me that, that we have this infinite capacity for love and that it's incredibly brave. Like, it's incredibly brave to love something. It's incredibly brave because to love anything is to accept the fact that you will inevitably lose. And so acknowledging that I'm going to hold on to this thing that I can never hold on to forever, and I'm going to open myself up to it, and I'm going to let it become part of me, I think is the bravest thing a person can do. And I think, if you're not scared, it's not brave. Like, I'm sure your husband and any of everyone he's ever served with, like, I'm sure they've all been scared.
Of course.
And that's what makes them brave.
100%.
Is that they're scared and they do the thing that needs to be done anyway. And I think love should be approached that way.
Why do you think that you're not more jaded, having seen all these divorces? I mean, I've met a lot of attorneys.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but, you seem to be a tough guy, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, tattoos, divorce attorney, some of the biggest divorces in the world you've done.
Yeah.
But you also seem really kind and very open-hearted. How did you keep that?
I blame my mom. She was like, I was the perfect amalgam of my two parents. My father was a Annapolis Vietnam veteran, like really hard, really rigid man. My mom was like left wing, so far left, it was like the leftist you could ever be, and progressive liberal and a total hippie. So I guess I had to become a lawyer because I had to see both sides of every argument always. They never voted for the same person, but they really loved each other. They were married over 50 years till my mom passed away. My mom passed away 10 years ago today.
I'm so sorry.
And no, she lived an amazing life. She was an amazing person. And I think a lot of it came from her. There's a line from a Joseph Brodsky poem. It's one of my favorite poems. It's called A Song. He wrote it when his wife died. And the refrain of the poem is, "I wish you were here, dear. I wish you were here." And one of the lines is, "I wish you were here, dear. I wish you were here. I wish I knew no astronomy when the stars appear." There's something to me about when you watch how fragile love is, and you watch so many people lose it. You feel and you sit across the table from people who are in so much pain because they had it, and they had this path and this plan, and they were certain that it's gone. Sometimes they screwed it up. Sometimes it's through no fault of their own. Their spouse just came home. And there's something about when you were around that all the time that you realize like how beautiful and fragile love is. Like, because is the greatest, anyone, like people say to me like, "Oh, how do you believe in love still?" And I'm like, that's like saying like, do you believe in gravity? Gravity is there whether I believe in it or not. Like, love is, of course I believe in love. Love's everywhere. Love's the only thing. Like all this other stuff we're doing, why are we doing it? We're doing it because we want love. We want to feel worthy of love. We want to care for the people we love. We want to have some level of safety, security, and control for the people we love or for ourselves so we can continue to enjoy time with the people we love. It all comes back to love. Like all of it comes back to love. So watching the fragility of love, watching the quote unquote failure of love has not made me less of a romantic. It's not made me less. It makes me more humbled by this vital, beautiful, fragile thing. And even though I know astronomy, I still think the stars are beautiful. Like, I don't think that knowing that love can go horribly wrong has ever for a moment shaken my faith, how important it is and how beautiful it is. Because even as a divorced person myself, even as someone who has had love and seen that love end in the way I didn't expect it to end, I am a better person for every one of those loves. And even when you say like, "Oh, I look back at young Codie and I kind of want to say to her like, oh, maybe this is the wrong," like, you would never be who you are if you hadn't that experience. And you would not have the marriage you have now if you hadn't had that experience. And even if the lesson of that experience was to show you, okay, that isn't what I need. So I need to find something different than that in some ways. That's where I think there's so much overlap in my relationship on perspective and a lot of the things you do in terms of business and entrepreneurship is it's a lot about, can people take the same ingredients, make a different meal with it? And we all know the answer is yes. We all know, like, you can take the same people in a business and restructure it and change the way they interact with each other as manager and employee. And you can make an entirely new business with the exact same ingredients. You could give Thomas Keller or, any amazing, Michelin star chef the same ingredients as me, and they're going to make something incredible out of it because they have this technique and ability. So I think it's the same thing. Like, I think the ingredients of who we are and paired with other different ingredients, we can make something radically different. Or even in a relationship that's struggling, we can take those same ingredients and figure out ways to make something different with it.